Yo, hoop fans, your sideline sage, Tips and Upstreams, is lacing up once again. On deck, deep dives into the freshest NBA clashes, ready to set the planks ablaze. But before we jump the ball, be sure to hammer that subscribe on our YouTube channel to keep hooked with our sharp forecasts and prime selections. All right, let's bounce into today's NBA Crystal Ball reads. The first prediction for today is for the game between Phoenix Suns and Milwaukee Bucks. In an electrifying showdown at the Fiserv Forum, the Phoenix Suns are set to take on the Milwaukee Bucks in a game that's expected to set the scoreboard on fire. This matchup is a crucial moment for both teams as they sharpen their game plans for the upcoming playoffs. The Suns, having clinched victories in 3 of their last 5 matches, are in pursuit of a better playoff position, aiming to dodge the play-in games. Their ambitions heavily lean on the prowess of Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant, with Durant at the forefront, displaying exceptional consistency and scoring talent. The Suns have been riding the waves of a demanding 4-game road trip, experiencing a mix of exhilarating victories and hard-fought defeats. Despite these fluctuations, Durant's scoring rampage and Booker's comeback from an ankle injury have kept the Suns in the competition. Nonetheless, their away game performance and recent difficulty in meeting the betting lines raise concerns as they gear up to challenge the Bucks. On the other side, the Milwaukee Bucks are striving to secure their dominance in the Eastern Conference. With Giannis Antetokounmpo unleashing his prowess on all fronts and Damian Lillard getting into his groove, the Bucks pose a significant challenge, particularly on their home turf. Their sharp shooting from the field and beyond, coupled with their rebounding strength, puts them at an advantage. In terms of statistics, the Bucks have an edge over the Suns, averaging 120.4 points on 49% shooting, compared to the Suns' 116.8 points on 49.2% shooting. While the Suns have a slight upper hand in defensive metrics, the Bucks' offensive might and the advantage of playing at home are formidable. Past encounters in Milwaukee have often seen the Bucks triumph, showcasing their strategic prowess and comfort at home. The injury updates and recent performance trends add layers to the prediction, with both teams displaying brilliance and weaknesses. The outcome of this game could well depend on the Suns' ability to disrupt the Bucks' scoring flow and capitalize on any defensive shortcomings. Nurkic's effectiveness in snagging rebounds and setting up the Suns' snipers will be key. However, the Bucks' efficiency and their depth in scoring present a stiff challenge for any contender. Given the Suns' grit and the Bucks' recent slight slump, this game is shaping up to be tighter than anticipated. The Suns have proven their mettle against top competitors, and with their key players hitting their stride, they are well positioned to beat the spread. But the Bucks' stellar home performance and knack for clinching crucial moments tilt the odds in their favor for a win. Expect a fast-paced game driving the total points above the threshold, making betting on over 229.5 points an appealing prospect. Anticipate a high-octane clash with the Suns, putting up a spirited fight and beating the 3.5-point spread in a true testament to the NBA's competitive essence. I'm backing the Phoenix Suns to beat the 3.5-point spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between Miami Heat and Detroit Pistons. In the highly anticipated clash within the Eastern Conference, the Miami Heat are set to storm the court at Little Caesars Arena, going head-to-head with the Detroit Pistons for their season's grand finale. The Heat, already blazing a trail with a commanding 3-0 lead in their encounters and riding the wave of a recent 108-95 triumph over the Pistons, are stepping into this game with the odds in their favor. However, bettors are in for a thrilling ride as both teams bring their unique set of challenges and prospects to the table, considering their current form and roster health. The Heat, positioned 7th in the Eastern Conference with a solid 36-30 tally, have bounced back brilliantly, breaking a 4-game losing streak with their latest win over the Pistons. Their game is marked by a stellar defensive game plan, ranked 9th in the league, despite a slower pace on offense, which sees them at 28th. With Jimmy Butler leading the score charts with 21.4 points per game on the questionable list alongside key players like Kevin Love, Tyler Herro, and Josh Richardson, Miami's offensive firepower is under scrutiny. Conversely, the Detroit Pistons, although languishing at 14th in the East with a 12-54 record, have occasionally lit up the scoreboard, notching unexpected wins over teams like the Raptors and Hornets. Spearheaded by Cade Cunningham, who averages 22.3 points per game, his potential absence due to injury poses a significant gap. Yet, with players like Simone Fontecchio and Jaden Ivey stepping up, Detroit showcases their readiness to battle, notwithstanding their underdog tag. Delving into the team's performance, especially in terms of home versus away games and their recent face-offs in Detroit, offers insightful perspectives. Despite their overall record, the Pistons have displayed resilience on their home court against top-tier teams. On the other hand, the Heat's road performances and struggles in consecutive games highlight a team that may waver against seemingly weaker opponents, especially in covering spreads. Considering the dynamics at play, along with the offensive and defensive metrics, the Pistons slightly edge out in covering the spread, more so with Miami's key figures potentially benched. Detroit's aggressive gameplay, paired with Miami's slower rhythm and injury woes, suggests a game that could swing closer than the odds indicate. Nevertheless, Miami's seasoned strategy and defensive stronghold are expected to clinch them the victory. The pivotal aspect of this showdown hinges on Detroit's ability to leverage Miami's possible defensive lapses due to injuries. Given the Pistons' valiant efforts and knack for covering the spread even in losses, they seem poised to tighten the game more than anticipated. In summary, while the Miami Heat are the favorites to seal the win, fortifying their Eastern Conference standing, the Detroit Pistons are well placed to defy the 7-point spread, banking on Miami's potential hiccups and their own ascending form. The game's total points are debatable, but considering both teams' recent lackluster offense and Miami's defensive expertise, opting for the under on a 215-point total is a calculated move. My bet is on the Detroit Pistons to defy the 7-point spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between Denver Nuggets and Dallas Mavericks. In the heart of Dallas, a high-energy face-off is on the horizon as the Denver Nuggets take on the Dallas Mavericks at the American Airlines Center. The Nuggets, leading the Western Conference with a stellar 47-20 record, ride in on a wave of momentum from a 5-game winning streak, having recently dispatched the Spurs 117-106. Their adversaries, the Mavericks, currently 8th in the conference with a 38-29 record, are eager to bounce back from a narrow 126-119 defeat by the Thunder and shake up Denver's rhythm while bolstering their playoff prospects. Denver's offense is a juggernaut, boasting an average of 114.8 points per game on an impressive 49.6% shooting from the field, enhanced by a 36.9% accuracy from deep. Their dominance on the boards, with an average of 44.1 rebounds per game, and a stringent defense holding opponents to 110.3 points on 46.5% shooting, highlight their comprehensive strategy on both ends of the court. Nikola Jokic is the cornerstone of the Nuggets' success, averaging 26 points, 12.2 rebounds, and 9.1 assists per game, supported by the likes of sharpshooter Jamal Murray and the versatile Michael Porter Jr. Conversely, the Mavericks wield a formidable offense as well, racking up 119 points per game and shooting 48.3% from the field. Their three-point precision slightly edges out Denver's at 37.1%, with Luka Doncic at the forefront, averaging a staggering 34.3 points, 9.9 assists, and 9.0 rebounds per game. Yet, Doncic's potential absence due to a hamstring issue looms large, threatening to derail Dallas's game plan. The Mavericks' defensive woes, surrendering 117.7 points per game, might open avenues for the Nuggets to exploit, despite Dallas's strong rebounding performance at 42.2 per game. Past encounters in Dallas have seen both teams trading wins and losses, setting the scene for a neck-and-neck contest. Denver's cohesive team play and offensive prowess, especially in crucial moments, slightly tilt the odds in their favor. Nonetheless, the Mavericks' explosive scoring capability, particularly if Doncic takes the court, poses a significant threat. Considering the Mavericks' tenacity as the underdog on their turf, and the Nuggets' challenges in covering the spread against Southwest Division teams with winning records, this matchup is anticipated to be closer than expected. Victory will likely depend on three-point shooting prowess and the star player's performance under pressure. With Denver's superior rebounding and defensive statistics, they have a slight upper hand. However, the Mavericks' dynamic offense and potential for scoring flurries pose a formidable challenge. In summary, anticipate the Denver Nuggets to eke out a win in a tightly contested game that may hinge on the final plays, but expect the Dallas Mavericks to beat the 4-point spread underscoring their competitiveness against the top teams. The defensive tactics from both squads, coupled with anticipated strategic adjustments in such a high-stakes game, suggest that the total score will probably remain below the 226.5 threshold, spotlighting the strategic duel rather than an all-out scoring fest. My prediction leans towards the Dallas Mavericks beating the 4-point spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between Toronto Raptors and Orlando Magic. In the latest clash on the NBA hardwood at the Kia Center, the Orlando Magic and the Toronto Raptors are set to square off in what's shaping up to be a quintessential display of basketball brilliance. Despite facing a rough patch, including setbacks against the Pelicans, Suns, and notably the Magic themselves, the Raptors stride into this contest averaging a solid 113.9 points on 47.5% from the field. R.J. Barrett and Scotty Barnes have been instrumental, leaving their mark across the stat sheet. Yet, the Raptors have hit a snag lately, particularly in keeping their offensive momentum in the second half and grabbing those crucial offensive boards, an area they'll need to tighten up against the Magic. On the flip side, the Orlando Magic step onto the court brimming with confidence, buoyed by their recent triumphs over heavy hitters like the Nets and Raptors. With an average scoring of 110.7 points on 47.6% shooting, the Magic have carved out a reputation for their formidable defense, conceding just 109.2 points on average. Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner have been the linchpins, driving the team's success at both ends. A key facet of their defensive game plan, their knack for inducing turnovers and dominating the defensive glass, is something they plan to leverage against the Raptors. A closer examination of the team's stats offers a detailed view. The Raptors, with their flair for fast breaks and slicing through defenses to the basket, are up against a Magic team that's adept at curtailing opponent assists and rebounds. Although Toronto shines in transition and dishing out assists, their defensive lapses and free throw struggles could crimp their style against the Magic. Past encounters at the Kia Center have ranged from nail-biters to clear-cut victories for both squads, yet recent form, particularly in this arena, tips the scales slightly in favor of the Magic, who've demonstrated their ability to pivot and clinch wins mid-game. Looking at the back-to-back game dynamic, it doesn't significantly tilt the odds in anyone's favor. Both teams have showcased their mettle and flexibility under such pressure, making it a less pivotal element in forecasting this game's result. Poring over the stats, the Raptors' offensive firepower versus the Magic's defensive acumen, and factoring in the latest form of both outfits, especially their showdowns at the Kia Center, tips the prediction towards the Orlando Magic. While the Raptors have the chops to disrupt and stay in contention, the Magic's steadfast defense, coupled with their prowess in turnovers and pace control, places them a notch above in this matchup. The odds makers' 12-point spread for the Magic might appear ambitious, given the Raptors' knack for keeping it tight with their scoring spread and fast breaks. However, the Magic's current stride, alongside their home court stronghold and defensive rigor, suggest they might just eclipse the spread. With the over-under pegged at 216.5, considering both teams' defensive caliber and their recent offensive hiccups, points to a lower scoring game as the likelier scenario. Wrapping up, the Orlando Magic are anticipated to leverage their defensive might and home turf to not only clinch the victory, but also surpass the spread. The total score is expected to fall short of the 216.5 mark, with a concerted emphasis on defense and a moderated game tempo. My expectation leans towards the Orlando Magic prevailing and beating the spread, yet my wager is cast on the game's total points dipping below 216.5. The next prediction for today is for the game between Boston Celtics and Washington Wizards. As St. Patrick's Day dawns, the Boston Celtics are set to showcase their top-tier talents on the road, facing off against the Washington Wizards in the heart of the Capital One Arena. With an enviable tally of 52 wins against 14 losses, the Celtics are riding a wave of momentum, chaining together 4 victories and asserting their supremacy in the league. In contrast, the Wizards are languishing at the bottom with an 11-56 record, marking them as this season's underperformers. Their recent track record, marred by a trio of defeats, doesn't bode well for a turnaround. The Celtics' scoring machine is in a league of its own, dropping an average of 120.9 points per game, fueled by Jason Tatum's stellar contribution of 27 points and 8.3 boards a night. Their sharpshooting from the field, 48.6%, and deadly accuracy from downtown, 38.7%, have been key to their success story. Yet, they're hitting the court with a cloud of injury doubts hovering over them this Sunday, missing crucial pieces like Kristaps Porzingis and Derek White, with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum's participation hanging by a thread. Despite their dismal standings, the Wizards have moments of brilliance, especially on offense, with an average score of 114 points per game. With Kyle Kuzma at the helm, averaging 22.5 points, they might just leverage the Celtics' weakened lineup. Nonetheless, their defensive shortcomings have been their downfall, conceding an average of 123.9 points to their adversaries. Past encounters in Washington have seen the Celtics dominate, but the injury woes and potential benching of star players could tilt the scales. Boston's defensive mettle will be put to the test against a Wizards squad that, despite its struggles, knows how to score. Boston's away game record against the spread hints at a less commanding presence outside their home court, possibly giving the Wizards a chance to close the gap, especially with the Celtics nursing recent injuries. Washington's high-octane offense could throw Boston off balance. Considering the Celtics' injury list and the Wizards' offensive capabilities, this matchup might be tighter than the odds predict. Even with the Celtics' depth and strategic edge, the Wizards stand a good chance to beat the spread, banking on their scoring prowess and Boston's strategy to possibly rest their key players. In summary, the Celtics are only laying 10 points tonight, which feels light, especially considering the Wizards are on the second night of a back-to-back. This line screams that Vegas is banking on the Celtics missing Tatum, Porzingis, White, and likely Brown too. I can't see any other reason for such a slim spread. If any of these ballers hit the hardwood tonight, all bets are off. Well, not literally, since we're talking hoops, and anything can go down in the NBA. But I'm not convinced the Wizards have what it takes to beat the spread under normal circumstances. With the intel I've got, it looks like the Celtics will be down 4 out of their starting 5, pushing me to side with the Wizards to cover that modest 10.5-point line. Just make sure to peep the injury report before you place your bets. The next prediction for today is for the game between Brooklyn Nets and San Antonio Spurs. In the electric arena of NBA action, the Brooklyn Nets and the San Antonio Spurs are set to face off in a much-anticipated showdown at the Moody Center in San Antonio, Texas. This game is shaping up to be a pivotal moment, with both teams on divergent paths this season. The Nets, with a record of 26-40, are desperately trying to make their mark in the Eastern Conference, currently sitting in 11th place. Their season has been plagued by offensive inconsistencies, highlighted by their ranking at 25th in scoring, with an average of 111.8 points per game. Despite their sharp shooting from the three-point line, their overall field goal and free throw shooting percentages have been lacking. Conversely, the San Antonio Spurs, at the bottom of the Western Conference with a 14-53 record, have been battling their own set of challenges, particularly on the defensive end. They've been giving up an alarming 119.8 points per game, making their defense a critical area of concern. Yet, their offense, sparked by the promising Victor Wembanyama, brings a ray of hope to their fans. The Spurs' game plan focuses on a high volume of shots, though they struggle to find efficiency both from the field and beyond the arc. Looking at the recent performances, the Nets have just come off a grueling 6-game road stretch, testing their mettle. Their recent losses to the Pacers and Magic underscore the need for an offensive overhaul. The Spurs, despite facing 3 straight losses, including a commendable effort against the Denver Nuggets, continue to show a fighting spirit, evident in their tenacious comebacks. Examining the head-to-head matchups in San Antonio, we've seen a series of tightly contested games, with both teams having their moments of brilliance. The Spurs' home court advantage at the Moody Center, combined with the Nets' exhaustive road trip, including back-to-back games, adds an extra layer of excitement to this clash. Past encounters in San Antonio tip the scale slightly in favor of the home team, largely due to the Nets' evident road fatigue and inconsistent play. From a statistical standpoint, the matchup presents a contrast in styles, with the Nets' reliance on their three-point game versus the Spurs' focus on shot volume. However, defensive shortcomings on both sides could end up being the game changer. The Spurs' slight edge in field goal percentage at home and their capacity to leverage their home advantage could sway the outcome in their favor. The Nets' struggle for consistency, particularly in back-to-back games, adds to the challenge. Given the circumstances, including the Nets' exhausting road schedule, defensive struggles, and the Spurs' unwavering determination, the game seems tilted towards a Spurs victory. Fueled by youthful energy and the strategic edge of playing at home, the Spurs are likely to not just win, but also cover the spread, predicted at a minus 1.5 point. With both teams facing defensive woes, we're gearing up for a high-scoring thriller, likely surpassing the 220.5 point total. In summary, the San Antonio Spurs, with the advantage of playing at home and facing a road-weary Nets team, are poised for a win in this nail-biter. Their offensive drive, combined with the Nets' defensive issues, makes a Spurs victory, covering the spread, a promising prospect. My money is on the San Antonio Spurs to take the win and beat the spread. The last prediction for today is for the game between Atlanta Hawks and Los Angeles Clippers. In the high-octane showdown slated at the Crypto.com arena, the Atlanta Hawks are gearing up to clash with the Los Angeles Clippers, setting the stage for a pulse-pounding face-off. With the Hawks at a 29-37 record, they're hungry for a comeback after a tight tussle with the Utah Jazz, while the Clippers, sitting pretty at 42-24, are itching to bounce back from their stumble against the Pelicans. The Hawks have hit a rough patch recently, dropping their last 3 bouts despite DeJounte Murray lighting up the scoreboard, notably dropping 33 points on the Jazz. Their offense, firing off 119.4 points per game on 46.4% shooting, is dynamite, but their defensive cracks have let through 121.3 points on average, throwing a wrench in their game plan. Missing their ace scorer and playmaker Trae Young, the team still finds spark plugs in Bogdan Bogdanovic and Clint Capella. Meanwhile, the Clippers, riding a roller coaster of performances, flaunt a powerhouse duo in Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, with an offensive output of 116.8 points on 49.2% shooting and a more solid defense allowing 112.7 points per game. They hold a strategic advantage. Their prowess from the three-point line, hitting at 38.8% and ranking second in the league, is a game changer. The Clippers' stronghold at the Crypto.com arena, their fortress, comes into play, historically giving them an upper hand. A deep dive into their last 5 to 8 duels in LA suggests the Clippers often exploit their home turf advantage, a narrative likely to unfold again. However, the Hawks' league-leading offensive rebounds and shot attempts signal their aggressive approach, ready to shake the Clippers' foundation. Coupled with the Clippers' recent slips, losing 3 of their last 4, and injuries to stalwarts like James Harden and Norman Powell, the bout is draped in suspense. The Clippers' scoring efficiency and defensive tenacity against the Hawks' defensive frailties, especially in back-to-back games, tips the scales in favor of the Clippers. But, with the Hawks clawing to break their losing streak and the Clippers nursing injuries, the gap narrows. Wrapping up, the Hawks may struggle to overcome the odds, but the Clippers' erratic form and potential key player absences hint at a tighter contest. Despite the Clippers' statistical dominance and home turf advantage, the Hawks' grit and the Clippers' health queries hint at Atlanta potentially covering the 11-point spread. Nevertheless, the Clippers are favored to clinch the victory, albeit facing a stern challenge from the Hawks. To sum up, I'm banking on the Los Angeles Clippers to notch the win, yet given the season's history with the visiting team triumphing in all 3 encounters, I'm leaning towards the Atlanta Hawks to beat the 11-point spread. Brace for a nail-biter that could easily exceed the total points threshold, considering both squads' offensive firepower and defensive shortcomings. My wager is on the Atlanta Hawks to beat the spread.